There was a Darlene in every classroom who always had her homework done, a Wanda who kept everyone in line without raising her voice, and a Gary who could fix your bike. And somewhere between the moon landing and the Reagan administration, America quietly decided none of these were names anymore. Ladies first, as it should be. But stay for the boys because at least one of them is going to genuinely upset you. Let's go through them. Girls, Glenda. Glenda arrived with a sensible cardigan and a firm opinion about casseroles and has never once made a scene in public. Popular throughout the 1960s, then quietly stepped aside. If you have a Glenda in your life, she is almost certainly an excellent sister. Reliable, non-dramatic, living somewhere between Iowa and Nebraska. She'll show up when you need her. She won't mention that you should have called sooner. Cheryl. There were so many Cheryls that teachers developed a system. Cheryl M, Cheryl P, Cheryl the one with the braids, and Cheryl who was very clear her name was spelled with a C and not an S. This was important to her. It still is. Today, the name has fallen completely out of the top 1,000. If you meet a Cheryl, she was born between 1958 and 1976. Bet on it. Brenda. Brenda was serious, capable, and slightly intimidating. She had opinions, she was right about all of them, and she was not particularly interested in discussing it further. Beverly Hills 90210 gave her one last moment in the 90s, but even Shannon Doherty couldn't save it. Today, a newborn Brenda would cause genuine confusion at the hospital. Is that a real name? Yes, it was. For years. Darlene. Every class had one. She sat in the third row, always had her homework done, and somehow knew the answer even when she was staring out the window. She had her name written on her pencil case in her own handwriting. Just so there was no confusion about whose pencil you borrowed. Darlene disappeared around 1985. She was replaced by Brittany. That was not an upgrade. Rhonda. The Beach Boys practically ordained this name in 1965, and parents obliged. Rhondas were everywhere by 1967, cheerful, friendly, and completely unaware they were named after a song on a 45. Then, the decade ended, the song got overplayed, and Rhonda went with it. Today, every Rhonda alive has had that song hummed at her at least 400 times. She has been gracious about it, every time. Laverne. Laverne was a perfectly respectable name before the television show turned it into a cultural artifact. The name peaked in the 1950s, meaning most real Lavernes were already in their 20s by the time Penny Marshall showed up wearing a letter on her sweater, which had to feel like something. Today you find one at the bingo hall, at church, or in a 1970s sitcom, sometimes all three. Elaine. The most organized girl in every 1960s classroom was named Elaine. Color-coded folders, perfect handwriting, every note alphabetical before alphabetical was even a system. She knew where everything was, including things that weren't hers, and was not modest about it. Jerry Seinfeld gave her a brief 1990s revival. Julia Louis-Dreyfus did what she could. It didn't stick. Today's kindergartners have never met one, and have never met anyone who has. Gail. Peaked in the early 1960s. Breezy, cheerful, and everywhere. Today, if you introduce yourself as Gail, 40% of people ask if you meant Gail. Another 30% ask if it's short for something. The rest assume you're the mother of someone else in the story and wait for you to get to that part. Nobody is thinking of Gail specifically. Gail understands. She always has. Wanda. You did not mess with Wanda. This was a name that arrived with authority already built in. Nobody gave it to her. It was just there, like good posture. WandaVision gave her a Marvel-sized moment in 2021. Not a single baby resulted. Some names know when they're done. Trudy. Short for Gertrude, though nobody in 1963 was explaining that to their newborn. Trudy was the friendly version of a very serious name, and she wore it well. Practical, cheerful, got things done without needing credit. Today, she exists almost exclusively on Golden Girls reruns and in the grandmother's name section of family trees. If you know a Trudy, she is delightful. They all are. We're exactly halfway through, and I'm willing to bet you've already spotted at least 3 of these from your own class photo. If these are bringing something back, hit that subscribe button. We're in the middle of something here, and I don't want you to miss the rest. Also, there is a boy's name coming up that hasn't been heard in the wild since approximately the Carter administration. Stay with me. Boys, Gary. There were Garys on every street, in every classroom, at every cookout, in every carpool. 2 Garys at the same party was not unusual. They just became Gary M. and the other Gary and moved on. Today, a newborn Gary would need to explain himself at every introduction for the rest of his life, which is exactly what Gary never once had to do in 1965. Dennis. Dennis the Menace gave every 1960s teacher a reflex flinch the moment she read it on the roster. She would find the Dennis and make a small private note. Dennis was not necessarily in trouble, but the assumption was never completely ruled out. Dennis knew it and was fine with it. It gave him a certain freedom. Today, the name has quietly become a period piece. Ricky. Ricky Nelson turned this into the defining name of a generation. If your parents watched television in the late 1950s, there was a good chance you ended up a Ricky. By the early 1960s, there were 2 in every classroom and they'd already worked out a system. The great nickname to full name shift of the 1980s came for Ricky first. It did not look back. Ronnie. Both boys and girls answered to Ronnie in the 1960s, which created its own kind of chaos at roll call every morning. Strong association with President Reagan kept it culturally visible into the 80s. But once the administration ended, so did any real momentum. Now it has retreated to a very specific population, men over 60 and female country singers. No overlap on that Venn diagram. None. Leroy. Bad Leroy Brown put this name in every American living room in 1973. But Leroy's had already been filling classrooms for a decade before Jim Croce showed up. This is a name that has never, not once, belonged to someone timid. Leroy walked into a room a certain way. He had a handshake, you remembered. And now he is essentially gone from birth certificates without explanation or ceremony. Duane. A name that arrived pre-equipped with a pocket comb and strong opinions about motorcycles, also spelled Duane, and approximately 6 other creative capitalizations, which tells you everything about the era. Today, only Duane survives, almost entirely because of one professional wrestler who became a movie star and kept the name anyway. The rest of the family didn't make it. Vernon. A name that sounds like it was already middle-aged the day it was given, and Vernon leaned into it. Vernon ironed his own shirts in elementary school. Vernon knew where the fuse box was. Vernon never complained. Today the name is so thoroughly extinct that J.K. Rowling used it for Harry Potter's deeply unpleasant uncle. If you were a Vernon reading those books, that had to sting. Rodney. Rodney Dangerfield built his entire career on getting no respect, which was genuinely prophetic for the name itself. Rodney's packed classrooms throughout the 1960s, steady, present, did the work. Today, Rodney exists primarily in retirement communities and 1970s sitcoms. No baby has been named Rodney since approximately the Carter administration. Parents decided they wanted something else for their son. They did not leave a note. Lowell. A name that sounds like a mid-sized New England city, because it is and has been since 1826. That did not stop parents from using it through the mid-century. Lowell was the dependable kid, always had his homework, could diagram a sentence, never got detention. Today, it registers as either a place name or a character from Wings who meant well and got taken advantage of constantly, which is not a bad summary of what happened to the name. Larry. Larry was everywhere. Next door, in your class, on the team, at every backyard cookout from Maine to California. 2 Larrys in the same room was Tuesday. The Three Stooges put it on the map. The 1990s quietly removed it. And yet, if your name is Larry, you carry something the Liams and Noahs of this world will never understand. That's not nothing. 20 names, all completely gone. Not forgotten, gone. There's a difference. Forgotten means nobody remembers. Gone means we remember perfectly and stopped using them anyway, which is honestly harder to explain. If your name is on this list, I hope you know it was a good one. Drop it in the comments and tell me which one your teacher called on most. And while you're down there, if you're not subscribed yet, fix that. We do this every week.